So we are
Yeah.
live, brothers. Let me pull this up here. Chicago Bulls. I need to tag Melvin so he can get
So you can hate
get
on
some
us.
appreciation for the Bulls, man.
Melvin is a Mike fan,
Man,
though. I will say that.
Good, good. Let me get Melvin
Yeah.
in here.
So
Come
he
on in,
probably liked
Melvin,
the documentary.
brother Melvin. Yeah, he invited me to come and shoot some pool, man. I'm like, I don't know, Mel. You might try to hustle me, man.
Yeah, he definitely will.
Yeah.
A
So
lot
yeah.
of us did go to high school together, just by the way.
Okay.
Melvin too. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Well,
crazy.
one thing we know, and I know you moved away from Chicago, and
Yeah.
Salaam did too. And I've never lived in Chicago, but I guess one thing that brings us all together is the Chicago Bulls.
For
And
sure.
this is our first time coming together to discuss anything live concerning the Bulls. And I thought it was a good time, especially with the Last Dance, with the COVID
Yeah.
19 being out here, the Last Dance showing. They moved it up. It was originally supposed to come out in June. They moved
Hmm.
it up because sports fans was hungry, and some of
Yeah.
everybody's watching it. Football fans are watching it. Baseball fan. When I say football, I'm talking about football players,
Hmm.
baseball players. Everybody's watching it, man. You got the NBA players, younger ones. They like, man, I didn't know all this about Mike. I didn't know all this about Scotty, and Dennis. And now they see how much of a beast Dennis was defensively and on rebounds. And they see how good Phil Jackson really was, how good of a manager he really was. It wasn't so much
Yeah.
the X's and O's because he had Tex Winter for all that, but it's managing all these personalities and finessing management, upper management, and dealing with Jerry Cross and so I say a lot. My name is J Mac. I'm just introducing myself. Some of you guys know me. I'll let some of the other gentlemen introduce themselves.
Well, you go first.
You recruited me? Yeah. Will
Yeah.
Noble, aka Gary Indiana Jones. I am the creator of the Chicago Bulls Party Chat. I put together the group about 5, 6 years ago, and it's blossomed into about 1,000 members strong. Yes. Just happy to be here, and I'm happy that I have everyone that participates in the group.
Yeah. David Johnson, one of the administrators of the group. Me and Will go back to high school. As a lot of people in the group do. We all are. A lot of us are from the same high school, Morgan Park. Um, so some of us played ball together, or we just went to school together. And I'm one of the administrators of the group, along with Christy, who I don't know if she's joined, but I saw she made a comment. Um, so yeah, I'm excited, to do this because we have had no basketball, and I've been going crazy. I actually went out and bought a hoop for my backyard because I've been just going crazy. Yeah, I really have. Like, I'm like, man, I gotta go out and get some shots up. So it's good. Like, I've been watching old games, the classic games coming on and all that, and the Last Dance has been like a big deal. In fact, somebody sent me a thing to watch some future episodes. I was like, nah, man, because this is an event for me. Like every Sunday, I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
watching it. Everybody's watching it, so I don't even want to skip ahead. I just want to watch it with everybody else and then talk about it after that.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was saying earlier. I don't know if the group had a chance to hear me say it, but uh, um, teams, different teams around the NBA, young players, football players, baseball players, and the public in general that's hungry for sports. NASCAR, I mean, golf. Everybody's watching this, and
Everybody's watching it.
they're all commenting about how much of a dog Jordan was, and I guess they didn't realize that because see, I was 16 when Jordan came into the league, and that's when I became a Chicago Bulls fan because I followed him at North Carolina, and I watched my boy struggle to get past the Celtics and the Pistons, and
Yeah.
when they finally had the chance to do that, and they finally beat the Pistons and convincingly. I thought the Pistons would have enough class. I'm gonna say it right now, have enough class to pass the mantle like Just like Mikhail passed mantle to Isaiah, told him go get that trophy and beat the LA.
Yeah.
And, and so he's on TV on every channel now whining about why he walked off the floor, and now he's talking
He
about
keeps changing his story too.
yeah, and now
He
that
changed it.
and now that Jordan and Horace Grant went off on him, now he done reduced Jordan to like the fifth best player he ever played against. Come on, Isaiah.
Now wait a
Get
minute.
out
Now,
of here. Who else?
what do
Who
you
else is better
expect?
than Jordan?
Yeah. Now, what do you expect? They had bad blood. All right.
Yeah.
They were the bad boys. That's how they portrayed themselves. That's how they played. They took on that identity, and I don't know why anybody would expect anything to change. The only thing I wish Isaiah would do, because I know hoopers have a lot of pride, you carry a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
Even when I talk to guys that I played with in high school and stuff like that, some of us still carry some of that baggage from back the way we were treated by our coaches and other players, or
Yeah.
who should have started. I ain't gonna say no names, Dave, but especially our senior year, we didn't belong on no bench.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wish Isaiah would just keep it simple and say, look, I was a young dude back then. This is what we were thinking. This is how it went. That's what happened. It's been 20, 30 years ago, and I'm ready to move on. He's trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be looked at as a bad boy today.
Yeah.
Bill Lambier, he don't care.
He don't care.
No, he doesn't. and I, some people defend Lambert. Let me turn my reverb down. Some people defend Lambert and say, oh, Lambert was a good player and blah blah blah. And I'm like, man, not when I watched. I mean, to me, he can do a layup, but to me, he was a hack, man, and he was a goon. Maybe it was something else that was there that I couldn't see because he was such a goon. And so when people talk about him, I don't respect his opinion. What I care what he thinks, I mean, we've all seen Michael Jordan play. We've seen Scotty. You have to be either blind or totally biased to come away and say Michael Jordan was not a phenomenon when he walked on that court. Yeah, Magic and Bird would tell you that. Hey, when we first saw this guy, we were like, matter of fact, I posted a video in the group today, interview from Charles Barkley. Charles said he first saw Michael Jordan at an Olympics tryout in '84.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he didn't know Mike at the time. He didn't know nothing about Mike, and he said that his coach told him to go to that tryout, and he said for whatever dumb reason they didn't take Barkley. I know who it was because what's his name was the coach.
He was overweight. Yeah.
What's his name was the coach from
Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
Bobby Knight.
Yeah. So
He
Barkley
thought he was overweight and out of shape, but too
Yeah.
fat to play. Yeah.
like Bobby Knight anyway. So Barkley was like, Barkley said, but he saw this kid. He said he never heard of this kid, but when he saw him, he said, yeah, that dude is the best basketball player I ever seen. He said he walked away from there with that.
And let's put that in perspective.
Understanding,
Because, they do all these comparisons to Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, and all this other stuff and everything like that. Yeah.
You
What happened?
you froze up a little bit.
Yeah. And the one thing what I'm glad people are getting to see is, okay, am I good?
Yeah, you're good
Yeah.
now. Go ahead.
Yeah. The one thing I'm glad people are getting to see and witness and even get a reminder is Michael was an offensive juggernaut. We look at his fadeaway and his dunks and stuff, but look at his layups or his elusiveness going to the basket. Once he got in the air or he was put his head down, went to the basket, the man was unstoppable. And with his competitive drive and his confidence, borderline arrogance, which was well deserved. I mean, we get to see what he was. He played a different game, and it was just you just could not guard this man.
Yeah.
And if we go back to talk about Lambier and all this other stuff, what I feel like the Pistons took this approach where they're like, we're not more talented than anyone. So no, we gonna do?
Yes.
We gonna beat everybody up.
Yeah.
We gonna beat everybody up.
And that's
We're
why
not gonna allow them to play.
That's why Bird cannot stand Lambert to this day. and
Mhm.
he'll tell you that right now.
Yeah,
He don't like it because that's how dirty they played. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. But that's what they had to do to win. And you know what?
that's what they had
Whether
to
you
do.
agree with it or not, it worked for a couple of years.
It did work. Yeah.
You
Honestly,
know, and
they could have won more because that year, remember that year they took LA to Game 7. I think it was '87. They took LA to Game 7 when Isaiah hurt his ankle. He was playing on one ankle. He had like 29 points or something in the fourth
That was
quarter.
'88. Yeah.
Yeah, no, '88 they won. Oh no, you're right. You're right.
No, that
Yeah,
was
'88
'88.
they lost.
Yeah.
'89, '90 they won. Yeah, '88 they should have won that series. They should have won that series. So they could have maybe won three in a row. So you're right. It did work. I mean, what if they had though? To me, they had a deep team. That's the
Yeah.
thing
They
about
had
it.
a lot of veterans
Yeah.
knew their roles. Yeah.
You know, an ironic thing. This is funny that y'all will be talking about this right now because just before I actually got ready for this, I think it was like maybe eight something. Um, they had an old Pistons game on, Pistons
I saw that
and
today.
Nuggets. I think it was Pistons Nuggets, and I'm like, this team. It was like '83, and this Lambier's on there, Vinny's on there, Isaiah's on the team. It's a whole different type of team,
Yeah.
right? So it's just crazy how much they changed, to be more gritty and tough and physical. When before they were like an up and down team, getting 150
mhm.
and all that stuff. It was a whole different kind of
Yeah.
team. But um, yeah, it's just crazy how they changed their whole persona. You know.
Yeah.
Now
I
we're
saw.
talking about what ifs. One real quick thing.
Go
We
ahead.
talk about what ifs, but I don't know if they would have won three in a row because what if
Right.
Scotty never had that headache,
Right.
Yeah, they
that
could have. Yeah, they could
migraine?
have lost that. Yeah.
They could have actually only just got one chip out of that.
Yeah. I had to bring
Yeah.
that. I had to make that point to some cats in another group last night, and I said, "You guys are trying to because they try to claim that the Pistons were old when Bulls finally beat them." I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, man, Isaiah Thomas was 28 years old. How is that old? And
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman was younger than him, and so was Joe Dumars. You know,
Joe
Mhm.
Dumars, yeah, he played a whole lot of years after that.
right?
And
So
he's
so
still good.
those guys were not old. Even Magic, when he retired the first time, he was no when he
Early
announced
30s.
HIV, he was 32. I think
Yeah, he was early
when
30s. Yeah.
Chicago beat them, so he was only 32.
Yeah.
What LeBron is what now 34, 35.
Yeah, he's up there. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
and he's still playing at a high level. You know, Jordan played till he was 40.
about
So,
35. Yeah.
I
LeBron about 35.
yeah, I had to explain that to him. But your point being taken, I said, hey, if Scotty had not got sick in Game 7, they may not have repeated.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's true.
it's a what if the Pistons earned that one. You know, I'm not trying to take that series away from them. I'm just saying it wasn't a foregone conclusion. And then even coming into the '91 season, I guarantee you Detroit had every no doubt in their mind they were going to win that series. They thought they were going
Mm.
to win it. You know, so this whole idea that they were old I hate that argument, man. But I saw those games today, and then they also played the 80 88. They played the 88 in Eastern Conference Final, Boston and Detroit.
Mm.
They played
Okay.
that one was on
They
there.
played that one.
Yeah,
I gotta say this: when I was during that time, I hated Boston so much that I was rooting for the Pistons before they became the bad boy thing and was all like hated. I wanted them to beat Boston in like '87. I didn't want Boston to win that series, and they lost when Isaiah threw the ball away and all
right.
that stuff. I don't remember that. So like
Mhm.
once they started beating up on the Bulls, then I started hating them. But
Right.
before that, like I wanted them to win because I
Right.
hated Boston. So
Yeah, I know. I understand what you mean because I didn't really appreciate Boston at the time, not
yeah, me
understanding
neither.
how they were constructed, you
Yeah,
know, and I didn't understand that. But as I got a little older, and I started understanding, hey, Barrett was a bad dude, and you
hmm
know they had a team that was centered around him that fit really well.
right.
Dennis Johnson, Kevin McHale, you know those guys,
Yeah,
Robert the Chief. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So you know, ironically, I was watching the Chiefs enshrinement into the Hall last night, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
a humble dude, man. That's a
What
real.
made you watch that?
It was just popped up on. I was watching something else,
Uh,
and then you know how you get these other
these
YouTube.
suggestions, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, let me just watch that, and then I watched the Chiefs. So, but I agree with you guys. That that whole rivalry thing um, was amazing, and but I just get deterred why people trying to downplay it. And usually, the people that are trying to downplay it, I hate to say this, are LeBron fans.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Those are usually the
Yeah,
ones that try to. Oh, somebody's coming. Hang on. This might be Salaam here. There are
and I'm
usually
going to tell y'all, uh, I am not participating in any arguments about Jordan and all that stuff. I'm not doing it. You can argue with your mama. I know how cold Jordan is, and so all these people that's trying to discredit that, oh, look who was guarding them. Look at all these people. Nah,
the stupid stuff.
Jordan was the real
No, that
deal.
don't work.
You could take
If you
Jordan. You
didn't
could
see
take
it, then that's on you.
you could take a
You know?
20. You could take a 25-year-old Michael Jordan, drop him in this league right now. He'll still eat these cats up. I mean, because he
Yeah,
was.
Salam.
Good evening, fellas.
What's up, brother?
Doc,
What's
brother
up, bro?
Peace
Daoud,
and
Yes,
Ramadan
sir.
Mubarak, my brother.
Same Ramadan Kareem, brother. You had a chance to break
Absolutely.
your fast and everything
Not yet. I
out
think
there?
I got about another 19 minutes. You know,
All right,
then
yeah, we
yeah, my
already
wife
did it
is
over here, man.
yeah, my wife cutting up some veggies and dip and
All right.
everything, some nuts and knickknacks. You gotta break it slowly, right? So
Yeah, I hear you. Exactly.
yes,
Some
sir.
water and break into dates and stuff,
Yeah,
whatever.
you guys are
Absolutely.
on a
Yeah,
different time zone. I forgot. Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yes. So enjoy your iftar, brother.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
sir. Yes, sir.
to finish my point, you can drop Jordan in this era. Jordan was
Any era.
a freak athlete, but it wasn't just his athleticism because LeBron's athletic, a lot of those guys are athletic. It was his competitive spirit that took him to another level. And
Yeah.
people think of that as a cliche, but it's not. Because if you when you have that kind of athleticism combined with skill, combined with dog killer mentality, that's a deadly player.
Fundamentals.
Yeah, fundamental.
Right,
That's a
fundamental.
deadly player to have, man.
I
And
mean,
and,
I
the
and, and you
video,
don't have to get him to practice. You don't have to beg him to come to practice.
yeah, the
You got to
video
get
I
him out of the
shared
gym.
earlier today that had they showed his highlights against Detroit, basically. And
Mm.
I mean, I'm wild by the dunks and the fadeaways, but I look at considering that level of defense that was being played against him, his fundamental base never left.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like his fundamental basis, he always operated out of that box. And then
Yeah.
you toss in the athleticism, then you toss in the competitive nature they had and the drive to succeed. I mean, that was like a
And the
monster.
IQ.
And the
They
Yeah.
IQ
don't
as
get
well.
enough credit for
He
that.
was
Yeah.
well taught, by
Yeah.
Dean Smith.
Right.
And it's like when I was coming into the chat tonight, our brother Dahu was saying about they try to minimize his impact on the game because of look who he was matched up against. I hear that all the time,
Yeah,
but
yeah. That's
people forget. I never heard that argument applied to Magic, and Magic walked in every night that he lined up. He had an 8-inch, 40-pound advantage over the guy across from him every
that's
single
true.
night, damn near.
I've
And it was
never heard
because
that.
of
You're right.
that, and because of that mismatch. That's the first time that I can remember where you saw a lot of cross matches defensively in basketball, where you would see Magic being checked by a Rodman. Because Drew
Yeah.
Mars already asked too much of him, or you see Magic checked by Scotty, or you see Magic being checked by going way back Clint Richardson and those guys who are from Philly.
Yeah.
So like, and on defensively on the Lakers side, Riley, he would deploy a lot of 1-3-1 traps, to get you to speed up your passing and everything, catch a pass floating and catch them in rotation,
And they
so they
off.
could tip it and they going back the other way, 3-on-1,
Boom.
'They
Gone.
gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But a lot of times Magic was able to hide defensively because if you look at
Yeah.
those 80s matchups really close, they would have him matched up against Lambeer or Mahorn or something like that. And at times he'll be Dantley too, because Dantley was one of the first 3 men in the league to post up. and so they would
Right.
hide him there too. So he's right there under the bucket to get a board. So I mean, not to say I'm not slighting his triple doubles, but that's just how easy it was for him to acquire them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like I hate when the context lens isn't applied to Jordan. Earlier, like I was saying earlier, I don't know if Jay caught this in another sports group that we're in. It's a lot of LA guys. They're really
Right.
cool,
Right.
but we go back and forth.
Yeah.
I need to put you in there, Daoud, if you're not in there already. You can see what
All
I
right.
mean. But what
Okay.
happens is I've mentioned that if look at the impact that Mike never hit that shot over Craig Elo. Okay, now pin that there. The year before that, the Bulls won 50 games, I think, for the first time in their franchise. If I'm not mistaken, maybe once before when they went to the Western Conference Finals at that time against.
Oh no, they had done it before. Yeah,
They
like
done
the
it. Okay,
'70s Bulls.
so they probably did it before, but it was the first time since Mike's been there that they won 50
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
And that was in '88. Scotty was an understudy to Sellers at that time. That was his rookie year. He didn't start until Game 5 against the first round game against Cleveland at home, and that's where we knocked off Cleveland at the old Chicago Stadium, and then we got put out by Detroit in 5. But then you look at '89, they finished 2 games worse than that. So, and as a 6 seed, okay. So as a 6 seed, Cleveland's 3rd, right? So you have Detroit number 1 seed because they made the Aguirre trade, and that put them on a fast track to get into the ring. But imagine if Mike never made that shot against Elo, Cleveland goes on, we wouldn't even see Detroit that early. You see what I'm saying? And so we probably, because we look at the trajectory of the team and what was around them, the Bulls weren't constructively built to win in '88 or '89. They were competing and they were improving.
Yeah.
Even though their record decreased by 2 games, they advanced further than the '88 team. And I think had that shot not gone down, they wouldn't have saw the Knicks, and we had a favorable matchup with the Knicks that second round, even though the Knicks had the home court advantage, and the Bulls ended up winning in 6. And remember the last game at Chicago Stadium where Trent Tucker had like a 4-point play or something like that made it interesting.
I remember that. Yeah.
But then they ended up.
They changed the rules after that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the Bulls end up pulling it out. Then they go to Detroit for game 1. They steal game 1. Detroit evens the series. They come back game 2. The Bulls won that one. Mike had 45 and hit the jumper over Rodman, right? Then the Jordan rules really started to take an effect, and so I think in hindsight, looking at Chicago, and I think this probably led to Doug Collins being dismissed, even though I like Doug Collins, is he failed in '88 and '89 to make the series specific adjustments. He had a general game plan, but in the playoffs, you have to make adjustments as the series goes on. And that's what I felt that he failed to do. And so that's why Detroit ran off another 3 games and they put us out. So it became easier to prepare, for Chicago. And we were there too early. And it's okay. Yeah. If things would have happened evenly, we probably wouldn't seen Detroit until probably '91. And then toss in the fact that there would be another what if imagine Len Bias had lived. And Len Bias and Reggie Lewis were running and got the torch passed from Bird and McHale and Parrish. So the way it happened, how it happened, was a lot of things that contribute to fate that was spun it in the Bulls' favor. And, I'm not knocking that at all, as you can see. Yeah. So,
things work out the way they do for a reason, man.
They do. They do. For whatever reason, that's where it was. And you saw I watched the First Take interview when Isaiah was saying he held up his wrist, remember? And he said, well, look, I had wrist surgery, which he did. And he said was something that he tripped up on. He said, this was a career-ending injury. I said, okay, if that was a career-ending injury, why are you butthurt about the Olympics then? Right. You know what I'm saying? And so, he still played. Yeah, he played. They say, well, y'all call well, y'all caught the Pistons when they were old. No, we didn't. The Knicks caught them when they were old the next year, when they beat them in the first round. So that was the fall of the bad boys. It wasn't through us. They were defending champions when we had them. You know what I mean? So
Didn't they start bust? Didn't they bust up? Didn't they lose some players after they lost to us?
Well, what they did was they didn't like Benny Johnson got released or traded to San Antonio or something like that. He ended up down there. Aguirre ended up in the Clipper land within like 3 years. Edwards, they didn't renew his contract with Buddha.
They got rid of
Sally, I think in '92 they sent Sally to Miami.
Okay.
And Mahorn was left unprotected after the first championship.
He went to Philly. Yeah.
Yeah, people started wanting to get paid over in Detroit too, and they weren't a collective. They weren't a cohesive group anymore. They their own.
Nah.
I don't want to say selfish, but personal desires started setting in.
Yeah, we won 2 chips. I want my money now.
Exactly. I mean,
I wanted to bring up. Oh, go ahead.
There was what other team that you ever felt, and I felt Detroit has the best second unit in history of basketball. But what other team that you can think of where you got 4 guys off your bench that all have nicknames?
Right.
So and with nicknames comes individuality. With individuality comes what somebody said earlier, marketability. With marketability comes that check, that bread. I mean, Benny Johnson. If Benny Johnson didn't sacrifice his career, to stay coming off the bench as a 6-man, he'd have been World Be Free and no rings.
Right.
Because him and World Be Free got the same kind of game. World Be Free has the edge athletically, but them dudes can heat up. Mark Aguirre, which I think is a travesty, he's not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, but this guy was averaging 26, 27 points a game for 7 years in the 80s. And in the 80s, that was the golden age of the small forward. So for him to be putting up that kind of numbers, and he goes to Detroit and he said, you know what, Dennis needs to start, and I'll come off the bench and do my thing. And that when we swept them in '91, him and Benny Johnson averaged 25 apiece off the bench against us. And I had the receipt to prove that. And every time when some riffraff comes up, we'll say, well,
change the narrative.
They was, I dropped that off.
They're going to change it. They're going to change the narrative. You know it. I know it, because the Laker fans are the worst. I think they're worse than the Laker fans are worse than LeBron fans, because they always change the narrative, man.
And now they're the same thing. That makes it worse.
They change the narrative, man. They'll give you an argument, then you go okay, fact by fact, and then they'll come back. Well, like I was arguing with them about the Blazers. I said, you guys say the Bulls didn't play nobody. They beat the Blazers. I said, and this is the same Blazer team that, when they beat the Lakers, then they were trash. I'm like, well, that's all y'all had back in the 80s. Was the Blazers, every now and then the Rockets, and who else? I said, y'all were a super team. Y'all didn't have nobody to really challenge you, and sometimes the Blazers challenge you. They beat you the one year, then you beat them the next year, so they were trash. So, but when they played the Bulls, they were trash.
They were trash.
Those teams were whipped. If you look at those teams, they played. When you look back at these old games and you look at those squads, and you look like, wait a minute, they had such and such. You look at the times, but how they were constructed. You look at Portland, and you're just like, good Lord.
And the Pistons beat the Blazers, and guess what? The Pistons.
They had the same starting five. They had the same starting five in 1990 that they had when we faced them in '92.
Exactly. And the Pistons.
Isn't that interesting?
Hey, the Pistons had Adrian Dantley in '88. I don't know if he was still there. '88. I don't know if he was still there in '90.
No, they traded him.
He was gone in '90.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I wanted to bring up this right quick. So Salaam mentioned Doug Collins. That's something that I didn't know in the documentary. I remember when Doug got fired, I was surprised because he had won 50 games or whatever. And I thought it was like, okay, he just couldn't get them there and all that. But in the documentary, was it last episode when they said how he did Tex Winter? I didn't know that until now. Like that he put Tex Winter off the bench and he wasn't trying to hear nothing he was trying to say about he's trying on stuff. Like I didn't know any of that.
Either
That
did
was
I.
strange, wasn't it?
That's why he got fired
Yeah.
more than all that other stuff.
Oh man, get about a mic. Well, I mean, okay, you can get about a mic, and that's fine. But guess what? If you're trying to go to the next level, that ain't gonna cut it.
It wasn't gonna
Yeah, that wasn't.
sustain.
No,
Yeah.
I
'cause
mean,
But I
eventually
think
Mike
him
gonna
Mike
being
run.
had to learn
Tex
to play
winner
off the
like
ball.
that, Jerry Krause wasn't having that because that was
Eventually,
his
Mike
guy.
gonna
He
run
brought
out.
Tex.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so I think the
go
Bulls
ahead.
might have won. Let's say Doug Collins would have gone ahead and worked with Tex Winter.
Right.
They might have gotten 3. I don't think Doug Collins could have managed a Bulls team with Rodman there.
I don't think so.
No.
The-
He
No.
doesn't
I think
have
No.
personality.
the first 3 titles, I think Doug could have won as well. Yeah, but the 96, 97, 98, I don't think he'd be a fit for those.
No.
Because that was like rock star level at that point.
You need a
Yeah.
you need a Chuck Daly, Phil Jackson type personality to deal with
Mhm.
Rodman. Or he'd run all over. He'd run all
Yeah.
over you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You know,
you
I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for us to do this because there was something I wanted to discuss in the group. I said,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna wait till we go on here.
go ahead, bro.
Now we're all a lot of us are emotionally attached to this thing where how they broke up the team. All right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And well, we should have kept them together and all this other stuff. But does anybody ever think about the fact that Phil Jackson, because the way other coaches were getting paid, he
Mhm.
wanted to be the highest paid coach after that run, and people forget
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't really bring that up in the documentary that much, but I clearly remember.
They touched on it a little bit.
He did a
Just
little bit, yeah.
they
Just
should
a
have
little
emphasized
bit,
on that
yeah.
a lot more.
Right.
Then Michael, he would have needed a new contract. Scotty would have needed a new contract.
Mhm.
Dennis would have needed a new contract. And I'm just looking at them. Is it even imaginable or even possible that they were going to be able to pay all these players and the coach to keep that group together? I do not think so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because the Bulls were a juggernaut internationally, international money. That man was making because of Michael Jordan. That man was making money hand over fist.
Of course.
Well, let me switch gears.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they probably had the money to do that, but billionaires and these owners don't get to where they are
Well,
by spending money.
Yeah, we know
True.
that. Yeah.
Do you really think that they wanted to spend that type of money to keep that
No.
group together? Because you're thinking at least 30 million for Jordan, probably 25 for Scotty.
That's why they
Yeah.
broke the team up, and that's why they
Yeah,
contemplated.
that's actually that's right.
That's why they contemplated because Jordan's contract was up after the '96 season.
Well,
he had
Jordan was signing 1-year contracts.
Yeah, but see, Jordan
You
had
know,
that trash,
30 million.
yeah, he had a trash
Mhm.
contract. Scotty had a trash contract, and then Jordan's contract was finally up in '96. And after that, he said, "You're gonna pay me $30 million a year
Right.
because I done made you a mint." And so
Yeah.
they were wanting to break the team up then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Well,
say all that to say this. I don't know if Cross was just operating only for the reasons, what the blame that he got was if it was just personal or his own shine and
The owner
stuff
was
like that.
behind that.
The owner had to be behind it,
Yeah.
number one.
The owner
Yeah.
was behind that.
Yeah.
You know, and from a business standpoint, if you're looking at it from a business standpoint, Reinsdorf did better than any owner in the NBA because he got the most out of probably the least, at the smallest investment in the
Right.
NBA for years. He got
That's
6 championships and did not have to pay anybody except Mike for a few years,
Yeah.
3 years.
Right.
Because he had Scotty for a pack of cigarettes, boy.
Right.
Scotty.
And you know what? In our other group, they were dogging Scotty. Scotty got after the first series. I mean,
Yeah.
last week,
First.
Scotty got a lot of flack because he signed that deal. But I kind of understand it. He was looking out for his family. He was thinking
Yeah.
about his long-term future with, security, so to speak. Not realizing that his value would go up so high that he was underselling himself. And even if he just did like a 3 or 4 year deal, that would have been better. But I understand.
I think a
Yeah.
25-year-old, I don't know how old he was, but
Something like that. Yeah.
We forget that these men that we watch on TV are boys.
Right.
Yeah.
Making $1 million in
But that's what the agents and all the other advisors are supposed
Yes.
to be in their corner to tell them,
Yeah.
hey man, I understand why you want to do this, but it's not a good idea right
You
now.
need to hold tight. Yeah.
Man, who was his agent? That's what I want to know.
Right.
Yeah, and that guy remained nameless too.
Right. I want to
Yeah,
know
Scotty
who.
didn't throw him under the
Yeah.
bus, did he?
No, he
It was
didn't.
it was
Scotty
Melvin
took-
Washington. Just to
Yeah,
see
man.
if he's watching that.
What's his name?
I said Melvin
Melvin.
Washington.
Melvin.
That's our group.
Yeah,
That's one of
yeah.
our most famous group members that likes to tear
Fail.
up the Bulls party chat.
Every time I see
I
him,
love
I always
Melvin.
every time I see him, I get New Jack City voice on. Show Mr. Washington.
But yeah, but so
Yeah.
I understand why Scotty felt he needed to do that, but yeah, somebody in his
Yeah.
corner should have told him not a good idea. Maybe we do a 3-4 year deal, but you're not signing no
Yeah.
7-year deal,
7
bro.
years.
No.
Yeah, but Reinsdorf could have said, "Hey, you know what? We could restructure this deal." He could have did it if he
you
wanted
just
to.
said Ryan's off as a businessman.
Yeah.
Look, we had
Yeah.
He don't care.
we had the wrong kind of Jerry's. We ended up with Reinsdorf and Krause. If that was West and Bus, that contract would have got
yeah.
ripped up.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And-
That contract
and
would have got ripped up.
You're right, and you know what else too? And I'm gonna say this, and I know we all have. We give Cross his props for having an eye for talent, for
Right.
having an eye to bring the right players around Michael and build a thing. He did do that, and
Yeah.
he did
He
go out.
whipped a lot, but he did do that.
He went out and got Rodman, and so I give him credit for that. But him and the owner were cheap, and his ego was way too big. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't let your ego break up your. I mean,
All right.
who gets a once in a lifetime player more than once?
Man.
You don't drive him off.
Baby.
You don't drive him off with because your ego. I'm gonna tear this down and rebuild it. Really?
Yeah.
And so we on year
I'm
one,
not going to defend. I'm not defending Krause.
we on year 25 of rebuild.
Yeah. I'm not defending Krause, but I just want to be fair. Like I'm pretty sure y'all read y'all read Jordan books and things of that nature.
Of course.
I think the Jordan rules.
Sam Smith.
Yeah, I believe they went into a great amount of detail on how Mike and Scotty and maybe a few others used to address Krause. I mean,
Yeah,
Krause.
I saw that.
They used to whoop on him and talk to him in ways like you
Right.
can't talk to your boss in any kind of ways.
It's humiliating.
It's humiliating. I heard that from what I read and some things I've heard from people I've known that it was really, really bad over the top. So you got that fire in him as well to the point where he don't give a care about breaking up the team because you got to go to work every day and this guy is talking to you any old kind of way. A bunch of them too.
Yeah, pretty bad.
People
Gary-
divorce their wives over stuff like that.
True.
Yeah,
But Gary,
crumbs.
but didn't he start the disrespect, making them feel disrespected first? And
I would agree.
I'm just saying it's reciprocal because I don't think that they would go there with him if he was more of a friend to them, like Phil. They wouldn't go at Phil like that.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't have even been allowed to begin with.
Brother, go
But,
and
you
break
know-
that fast.
Yep. You know what I'm doing right here.
I already see it.
Yeah. Well, let me set my phone. I had to wash my hands.
Yeah, you're right.
I actually am a Krause defender in a certain level, just because I'm so interested in like the draft and all that stuff. That made me appreciate him more. I
Right.
listened to an interview with him. I think with Woj, I think interviewed him, and just listening to him talk about how he evaluate talent and all that stuff, and he
I saw
learned
that.
from
Yeah.
people back in the '60s and stuff like that with scouting. So I'm like, okay, because this guy's one of the best at that. That you can't take that away from
Can't
him.
take that away from
You
because
know,
he found
Scottie Pippen. Who the hell knew who
He found
Scottie
Scottie.
Pippen was in 1987? I never heard
Saw
of this
that.
dude. So
Yeah,
How'd he find Tony?
right,
yeah, all
Kukoc.
these guys. So
right.
so he gets that credit. Of course, he got to get the blame. He did break it up, but one of the points, I don't know which one of y'all made this. Reinsdorf had to sign off on that.
Oh yeah,
And he should be getting way more of the blame in this situation.
we
It's
need to
his
hold him
business.
accountable now today.
It's his business, and if he didn't want that to happen, he could have been like, "Nah, you ain't doing that," and that would have been the end of it.
Yeah.
So, but I know he is kind of hands off. He kind of hires people, trusts them, and be super loyal, and let them do whatever they want for like
Fact-
Paxton and Krause.
I'm not letting
Paxton and Krause have been the only GMs for like
you. Yeah.
1985, I think, is when Krause came. So
Yeah.
it's just like crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess we can get into the new GM in a minute, but yeah.
As a owner, I'm not letting you break up my grave train. If nothing else,
No,
if
Michael
nothing else,
Jordan ain't walking out
I'm
of
not
my
letting
door.
Michael Jordan outside of the organization.
Exactly.
You
What
know,
is it
one-
going to take to keep Michael Jordan? That's what I'm
Right.
saying as the owner. Like
He's
forget
not
that.
getting out of the organization, so we're gonna have to figure out
Yeah.
something here. We're gonna have to make a trade. Yeah, we know we can't go on forever. They say let us lose. Okay, well let them lose then, and
Let
then
them
we'll
lose.
figure that out. But I'm not running Mike off.
What did y'all think about uh one thing that I didn't know before either until I saw the doc? Bobby Knight was on there. They had him
Mhm.
talking about Mike, and this was in '84. He
Before
said
he-
Michael
yeah.
was one of the most athletic people he's ever seen. He was one of the most hardworking people, one of the most fundamentally sound people. You know, he named all these qualities, and he
Yeah.
said, and when you put all that together, to me, that one of the most competitive people. That makes him the best player that I've ever seen. This is Bobby Knight
Bobby
in
Knight.
'84.
Yeah.
Before we had even
I
seen
I knew
Mike
about that.
do all of this
Yeah.
stuff.
Isaiah
I was like,
Thomas
whoa.
said on one episode of Open Court when he was telling the guys, he was saying, but Bobby Knight told him, okay, this one a little different. This
It
one a
was
little different.
different.
The Bulls didn't
It
even
was
realize
different.
what they had.
Right.
They
They
did.
knew
No,
they grabbed a great player. They didn't know how great he was until he showed up. So
Yeah.
that was crazy.
And,
Well,
and those
everybody
shackles
knew.
came off of him.
Well, looking at the draft, they said okay, they knew Houston was gonna take Olajuwon, and they
You
didn't know.
can't blame him for that.
And you can't blame him for that.
Right.
The dream was a dream. So,
Dream is awesome.
and then they knew that they thought that maybe Portland would take MJ, and they thought of MJ as a good player. But
Mhm.
I'm with you guys.
But they already had
no
Clyde
clue.
Drexler.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Like, okay, so what?
But they had no clue. Nobody had a clue that MJ was going to be who he was, and so the Bulls
Who he
like,
was, right.
well, who? He
Not
fell in our
that,
lap.
yeah.
We'll
Not
take
that.
him. We'll take him. He in our lap. We taking him. But they didn't know. Oh man, we turned into because I think they said the first couple of practices and preseason games,
Mhm.
They're like,
players
oh,
and the
man.
coaches and the
Yeah.
scouts was going back to the front office and say, "You guys hit gold."
The first week or two they were like,
Yeah, they were like, "You
Yeah,
guys hit gold. Y'all don't realize what y'all just did."
Right.
Man, did y'all used to go to the old stadium games? Because I remember going to them games.
I used to work there.
Yeah.
That was
You
my
used to work
first
there?
job. Mhm.
What?
So I
Man, the
caught
old
the
stadium was off the hook.
it was looking at the old highlights and listening to the roar of the crowd.
Yes.
It's irreplaceable. I mean, the United Center, even though it's bigger, it doesn't compare. That
Yeah.
place,
It doesn't compare,
the
no.
building was shake.
It was
You know, when
shake,
yeah,
literally.
yeah, it was shake.
It was shake.
I'm going to tell y'all
Introduction.
this that I remember. When Michael broke his foot, I remember when he broke his foot in, was it 85, 86 season?
In fall '85,
And
yeah.
the game that he came back, me and my uncle was at that game. And that's the
Wow.
loudest cheers I've ever heard anywhere in my life. The whole thing was
Mhm.
shaking
It was just
when
crazy.
he came back that night. I was at that game.
Yeah.
And then like they mentioned this, that he was only playing like 7 minutes or whatever a half, man. That was the most
You're right.
ridiculous. People were like, come on, man, put this dude back in. Like, and when he
Yeah, he was on
came in,
minutes
he was going
restriction.
crazy. He was going crazy in the little minutes he was playing too.
That's right.
You know what that
He was
reminds me of,
going
Dave?
against the premier defensive player at that position was Moncrief,
Right.
who's also in the Hall of Fame.
City
by the way.
Moncrief. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Moncrief was
it's the
tough.
third game of Mike's career. He gave Moncrief 37.
Mhm.
That
But yet
team
they'll
was tough
say
in general. Yeah.
that Moncrief or Mike didn't see nobody, and he's a
Yeah.
premier defender at that position.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
I want to remind y'all of something though, because
Go
we
ahead.
were talking about how good Michael was and how people didn't realize how good he was and stuff, and all the comparisons. There's another thing I remember about Mike. When he first came to the Bulls and we started seeing him play, and then you started seeing them talk about him on the news. And people who did not watch basketball, they don't know anything about basketball. Even as a kid, I was a late bloomer to basketball. I didn't start playing ball and really playing ball until I came to the 7th grade, until I came to the South Side, because I
Right.
grew up north. I remember sitting in front of the TV, watching TV, and this dude was on just a different gear. He just stood out. I didn't know what was going on in the rules and the fundamentals of the game, but I knew this one guy was different from everybody else.
Everybody else.
You know, you never seen nothing like that before.
A lot. True. Chicago was like that because nobody was checking for the Bulls.
Everybody was checking.
Nobody was.
That's exactly right, Will, because I remember, like, I was a big basketball fan in general because my family is just like, my grandmother watched basketball. Like, everybody in my family watched basketball. When I was, like, 6, we were sitting around watching the All-Star games, me and my grandmother and them. So my whole family was, like, all into that stuff. And I wasn't really that into the Bulls at all. I wasn't checking for them at all until 1984. I remember some of them older guys like Reggie Theus and Ricky Sobers and all them, but I wasn't. I don't even remember them coming on. Were they coming on TV? I don't remember them even being on TV until Mike came.
Were
they not all the time?
Were they on TV when the A Train was there?
If they were, it wasn't like every night like they are now. I don't remember.
But at that time, though, WGN wasn't there. It was WFLD.
That's what it was. So it wasn't coming on every game, right?
But Jim Durham was always the voice, so I could hear Jim Durham's voice calling the play-by-play, and then Johnny Curve like screaming at the top of his lungs. You know, but I mean, anybody that's grown up in Chicago, you remember that. I mean, but it used to piss me off because like Channel 32 in Chicago will only show the road games, but you didn't have at the time Sports Vision.
Sports Vision? Yeah.
And then it became Sports Channel, I think late 80s, early 90s. If you didn't have that, you were screwed. But everybody knew a cable guy in the hood. And they went up there and they dropped that little wire that dropped it to your house. And you were straight.
that's how a lot of back in the 80s, a lot of sports teams did that. And I mean, even here in St. Louis, I couldn't watch the St. Louis Cardinals unless they were on the road, or if they sold out the game at home like 3 days before the game. It had to be some crazy time at 2:00 on Friday or something. They had to be sold out before we could watch it on TV. And so we didn't get a lot of home games at all until Fox Sports came along in the mid 90s, and that's when we started getting home games. But
it merged a lot of markets and got rid of a lot of smaller TV stations.
But when WGN started carrying the Bulls, that was great for people outside Chicago. You could watch out there. I was watching that. I was watching just about every Bulls game, man. I mean, if they weren't on WGN, they were on TNT. Then on the weekends, NBC. You know, Omar Rashad on Saturdays. I mean, it was just great, man. And
I gotta tell you, I was definitely not checking for the Bulls at all until Mike came. At all, I was not paying. I watched a lot of ball. Every week they would show CBS games. I watched all them games. The Lakers, the Celtics, Philly,
you watched the Lakers,
all
and
that stuff.
Good.
But I wasn't watching no Bulls games until Mike came. Very little Bulls games that I remember watching. And my family, like I said, they're watching all the basketball.
Yeah, 76.
I don't remember being on CBS until they played Boston.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, until once Mike came, right? When they played Mike.
When they played Boston and he put that 63 on them, they're like, we need to get this dude on TV.
Right. And see,
what about the drug stuff they brought up in the documentary?
That was funny.
I mean, I knew those guys were those guys were on drugs. I actually knew some of those guys. Okay, I'm gonna tell a little story. So my stepfather, he used to be into drugs, and some guys came to the house, and he was like, "Hey, tell Dave to come downstairs," And so I went down to the car, and it was like 4 or 5 dudes in the car. I guess I'm assuming they probably was, on the drugs. That was my assumption. And I can't remember all who was in there, but it was NBA guys from the Bulls and stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, damn. Okay.
Was Woolridge in there? Was Orlando
No, I can't remember. Now I don't remember who the guys were, but I definitely remember.
Daly?
It was
okay, we ain't gonna name drop.
Yeah.
I would if I could remember, but I don't remember. Who
I ain't got enough money for you to be name dropping on this production.
No, but Woolridge and Daly are deceased, though.
Yeah. But I didn't realize Mike said he went in the room and like almost the whole team was in there.
Yeah.
Lines. I was like, damn.
His rookie year.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that many guys.
He said,
I'm like, where was Paxton at?
He said he didn't know they were getting down like that.
No. It's crazy, but
Now,
yeah,
Steve
when you
Paxson
look
didn't say
back,
nothing.
a lot of those
But
guys were
a
in
lot of
trouble.
the
They got
NBA was doing that.
suspended or something at some point.
Was
Yeah, but I mean, like a lot of those guys got like drug suspensions or something at some point in their career that were on that team.
for me growing up, I was a Dr. J fan, and I was a
Me
Magic Johnson
too.
fan. Even though I wasn't a Laker
Me too.
fan, I was still a Magic fan because I used to
He
go out.
had 11.
I used to go out and try to emulate his. He would do something crazy as far as passing is concerned,
Yeah.
and I would go out on the court the next day and try and do that. It was just wild, man. And
Doc was my first
yeah, the
person
doctor,
I really
yeah.
got into too. Yeah, and then Magic, Dr. Magic.
And when Dr. Rock, you know, the infamous Rock the Baby on
Yeah,
Michael Cooper.
man. Yeah.
But yeah, Mr. Rashard Wiggins said he had a comment. He said, without
Oh yeah. Man.
Cross, we definitely would not get 6. I agree, brother. You're so
Rashad, what's up, man? You're not suspended.
Yeah, I got
Adrian's watching too. He's just reminiscing about the early Bulls. I don't know how old those guys
So,
were.
y'all want to talk about the new GM, or want to get on more about the doc?
No, I'm sure we're gonna unpack the doc some more. But we're gonna get to the GM for sure.
Yeah, because I mean the doc is because we didn't get to talk about it at all for the last few weeks. I think we got a little more.
We got a lot to go yet, but man, it's amazing. I just look forward to it every week, man. It seems like those hours go fast too. That first episode, I'll be like, damn, it's over already. It was only, you know.
What I do like is they show 2 episodes. They don't show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would die.
Man,
you had to do one at a time.
So, I got some.
This is our version of Black Panther, though.
Right. I got some people in my job. We have a office in India, and it's a guy in there who really into ball. He be messaging me and all that. Like, man, did you see the Last Dance? You know, all that stuff. So they're watching it all over the world, man. People, I think it's on Netflix for them or something.
It is.
Yeah.
It's grown bigger than the Lakers and Celtics. It's grown bigger than the Bad Boys. I mean, it's just big.
Yeah. Well, shout out. I don't know if y'all saw Raymond was complaining that he's got the episodes on his Fire Stick and he don't want to watch them prematurely because he can't talk about it with nobody.
Yeah, I don't want to do that either.
Right.
And he had me get my Fire Stick straight because mine were old and they had all that old apps on them, but he had me get them straight. Shout out to Raymond for helping me get those straightened out. And I have not jumped on there and tried to watch any future episodes. I don't even want to.
Man, what you eating over there, brother?
Oh man, I had some chips and salsa and celery and bell
going
pepper
down,
and
ain't
cherry tomatoes.
Oh, this is the warm up. What's the real
Yes, sir. Yes,
But-
after this fast is over, I got to get it in.
But yeah, Cross seeing what in Scotty what nobody else saw was amazing, man. I mean the who drafted Scotty? The Blazers?
The Sonics.
The Sonics, okay.
Sonics.
And they was like,
Well,
oh
they,
yeah,
they got him for Scott.
Olden Polynese.
We'll draft them for you. Yeah, no
Hold
problem.
on one second.
We'll take Olden Polynese.
I think they had an agreement for them to draft Scotty for us.
Yeah, it was
I think that's the way it was.
Right.
Yeah,
But
I remember
every draft from 1986 for sure. I don't remember if I watched 85, but from 86 on, I watched like every single draft. And when they said Scott Pippen, I didn't know.
You were like,
Who the hell he was?
Who? Out of where? Central
I'm like,
Arkansas. Where?
what?
But when he came into the league and we had a chance to see him play, I saw potential in him.
Yeah,
I saw him.
He was wrong.
He got some.
Yeah,
I said he got
raw.
athleticism. If he learned the fundamentals and stuff and get some stuff, get some of that game under his belt, I felt he was gonna be good. But I know
if you got to play against Mike in practice every day, you can't.
Right.
Every day.
I know he was gonna be that good. Yeah. So I give.
And that's one thing I don't think people give enough credit to Mike. They try to discredit Mike. They say, "Oh well, he played with Scotty. That's the only reason he started winning, or whatever." They don't give Mike enough credit. I mean, you got to give Scotty the credit. He did the work, but they don't give Mike enough credit for dragging Scotty along. Basically,
He did push him.
you know, and not just Scotty, but a lot of them guys. He had them. They showed how he was going in there doing with the weightlifting and all that training they were doing together. When the Pistons were beating them up and all that, they were getting up 5 a.m, whatever, going to breakfast together, training. they all got noticeably bigger. You know,
Mhm.
I remember
Scotty
noticing that the
started to take
next
off
year.
once he got stronger. Yeah, once he got
Yeah.
stronger, he started to take off. And plus, playing with Mike every day, like that,
Mhm.
you know, he wanted it, and so he gets the credit. But it's not like he came in a finished product. Mike helped him get to that point.
Yeah,
Right.
Mike pushed him, and
Mike
also
pushed him.
Cross saw something in who was paying attention to Horace Grant.
See,
Yeah, well, I knew about him a little
he
bit.
was
I
at
remember.
Clemson.
Yeah,
Let's
he
be
was.
real. Everybody wanted Harvey. They didn't want Horace.
Right.
Harvey,
But
yeah.
And
that
I'm
You know,
Horace
glad.
Grant
I'm
deal,
I'm 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 happy to have Horace. Have had Horace.
yeah.
Yeah.
and it made it easier for them than within a year to move Oakley for Cartwright. And if you
Yeah.
read the book,
Mhm.
any book, Jordan was kicking it with Oakley ringside at the Tyson Spinks fight, and when he found out about it. And
Ooh.
and so that's where he found out about the trade. He was mad as hell. Nobody talked to him
He was
about it.
mad.
So
Yeah, he was
like
hot.
they were,
It would have been
But
nice.
that was the best thing for the team, though.
Yeah.
yeah, it
Now
was when you think about it.
I would say it would have been nice if they could have been able to keep Oakley because he was as far as defense and rebounding. You having a guy like him and an enforcer would have been
He was
cool.
a bouncer, yeah, pretty much
He
for
could have
Mike.
That's a
he could have dealt with the Pistons a lot sooner than Mike them getting in the
oh
gym. You
yeah, oh
understand what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, that's the interesting thing because I think that's the definition of a win-win trade because both teams got what they needed. Like the
Mhm.
Knicks didn't need Cartwright and Ewing, and we didn't
Right.
need Oakley and Grant, like the same
Right.
position. So
Right.
they just switched it, and both teams better off.
But it would have been
They
nice to
were.
have Oakley coming off the bench, man. I mean, I know he
Yeah,
wanted that role, but
I
it
just
would,
want to see
He wasn't
Oakley
good.
and Rick Mahorn get into a fight.
that's what I'm
all I
trying to say.
wanted.
Yeah, that would have been
yeah,
lovely.
they would. That wouldn't have been all that slamming Mike to the ground stuff.
That's what I'm trying to say. Oakley wouldn't have been
Uh-uh.
perfect with all that,
Nah.
But yeah, Horace came into his own. Horace had a nice
did.
little mid-range shot, rebound, defense, athletic. He fit them guys well.
He was very deep, very understated how the impact of his defense because when
His
the
defense
Bulls
was
would go to that
huge.
full court press, he was very agile. He'll switch off on a five, here and there. But then at times when they go to that big lineup where they have Jordan and Pippen in the backcourt, and then in later years, early years in the first three-peat, they'll have like a Livingston at the three because he was the one that was put the clamps on Worthy in game 4 in the finals. But then in the latter three-peat, you got Kukoc in there. So you got your three perimeter guys, Jordan, Pippen, and Kukoc. You throw in Harper, I mean, you're covering everybody.
Mhm.
Throw in Rodman, you can switch every pick and roll. You can trap it. You can hedge out. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I played golf with Cliff Levinson a couple times a year for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a real cool dude.
I forgot about Cliff, and Cliff was instrumental in
I
that
like
first
Cliff. He
championship.
was.
Yeah.
Good news.
Yeah.
Cliff used to be on Detroit. Actually, those old games, those
In
83,
85.
Cliff was on their team.
With Terry Tyler and all those guys.
Well, you know what? Who else was good?
John Long.
Craig Hodges was good.
Oh, I
In
like
Milwaukee.
Craig Hodges.
Yeah.
I was so happy when he came to the Bulls.
Yeah. He was sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to hear them to mention his name because they've been sliding that over for years.
Yeah, they haven't mentioned him at all. What's up with that?
Yeah.
I think that blacklist went to the next level.
Man,
But-
I saw him in the
what-
plaza one time.
Oh yeah, I was
Because,
wondering that. I was wondering because they mentioned Paxson, they mentioned BJ, and some of the other guys. Now they haven't mentioned Scott Williams and Will Purdue and those dudes, those goons.
They may
I
come
think
up.
Will
They
Purdue
may
was
come
in
up.
there.
Will
They
Purdue
may
may
come
come up. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the doc. Yeah, Will Purdue.
Mhm.
And okay, well then I guess we'll see. Then, like Gary said, they may come up.
Right.
They may. That's what I'm waiting
They
on.
don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, he
what
was a
was
big part of
actually,
it.
See, this is how well coached the Bulls were. Michael leaves,
Mhm.
the boys were still hooping.
Yeah.
They still had Horace, and we all know as Bulls fans, the referees put the Knicks in the
Of
championship,
course.
in the finals. Period. I think the
Yeah.
league wanted that, and that's what the league wanted. They didn't want the Michael Jordan-less Bulls to be in the finals. So And Patrick Ewing can brag all he wants. He know good and well it was
Now,
that was a
I'm
good.
giving y'all game, and that's I give y'all game because that's a good point you brought up, Jay. But what happens is we see this. This is always brought up that '94 squad is always used as a model to minimize how important Mike was.
Right.
Yeah.
So they will say, well, the '94 squad would finish 2 games less than what the '93 squad was. And Jay, I don't know if you saw that in that group. I said, well, that's why is it that you only comparing the '94 squad to the smallest sample of '93?
Right.
I think it is in fairness, you should compare it to 91, 92, 93 and average the wins out. Because if you average those wins out, there's 61.6, so rounded up to 62 wins on average for 91, 92, and 93. So if you look at that in '94, okay, the Bulls finished at 55 and 27. So that's 7 games less than the average. You're comparing them to '93, where naturally any championship team, when you win multiple rings, the win total tends to go down.
Yeah,
It doesn't go up.
Yeah.
And they start coasting through the regular season, and then they ready for the game run. So like compare the whole sample. Don't just compare to just look at '93, because if you want to look at that, okay, when Bird retired from Boston in '92, the Celtics the next year were only 2 games worse than what they were. Right? Actually, 3 games worse than what they were. However, when McHale left after Alonzo put him out with that elbow jump shot in Charlotte, when McHale leaves and Reggie Lewis dies, they're 16 games less than that. Now, who in their right mind is going to sit here and tell me with a straight face that McHale was more important to Boston than Bird was?
No,
I mean, we all watched the damn game.
Nobody.
Come on.
I didn't realize how good McHale was because of my biasness back then.
Yeah.
But when you look at these old games now, you're like, this dude can ball. He was a monster.
You get him within 10 feet. Good luck.
I didn't appreciate them. Somebody mentioned this, but I didn't appreciate them during that time.
Right.
But I started appreciating Larry. When Larry got old, I started appreciating them.
Me too.
When he was like had the back problems and he had to
before he retired,
lay out on the ground and everything, didn't get up. I think it was a game he had like 47 or something in like '92. He was old and he bust Portland like 47. Then I was like rooting for him.
He gave Scotty numbers in the regular season game in his last year. And hit the buzzer beater on them too.
That's when I started really appreciating.
Scotty said that the biggest trash talkers, Bird was one of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I can see it. And we know Jordan. Go ahead.
They say Bird told X-Man, like, I'm getting ready to shoot this shot. I'm about to get the ball. I'm gonna shoot right. Go to this spot. I'm gonna shoot it right in your face, and we're gonna win the game. And he did exactly that. This X-Man told that story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I think when people be looking at all these stats and looking at this year and that year and this person, the player missing, every season is different. You have different motivations.
But they changed the narrative, Gary. They changed the narrative.
They changed the narrative. Because to be honest, the 72, how many games should the Bulls won when they went 72-10? I want to know if y'all this sticks in your mind. I've always said they should have won 74.
I think
so. You know what 2 games they lost that they should have won?
The Raptors.
The same team. The Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
David Stoudemire.
They lost 2 games to the Raptors?
The worst team in the league. They lost to them twice because they just did not get up for them.
Yeah.
They called in sick.
And as you know, and as Salaam alluded to, if you look at a team that's defending championships, their regular season totals go down, decline. If you look at when Boston defended their championship, did they have the same record? When the LA defended their championship, did they have?
They usually always decline. Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's another thing about that 72-10 season though that people forget, that it was the most fun thing that we've ever witnessed, and I don't even. The closest thing we've seen to this is like maybe, I hate to bring up football, but the Patriots or Green Bay. When you watch the Bulls game, I don't care how many points they were losing by. You watch that game to the fourth quarter because the Bulls come back and win all the time.
You got that right, because there were many games where Michael was sitting on the bench, the Bulls were struggling, and then Michael was like, "Oh hell no, we ain't losing to these dudes. Put me back in."
And he go to work.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it was a whole lot of that going on. And Phil, we talk about load management with these new players. These new players got their own load management thing, but Phil Jackson used to do load management with Mike and Scott.
Blowout.
Yeah.
He would he would find ways to rest them more, and he would hold them back, and then he was like, okay, you want to go back in now. But if the game was under wraps, you ain't going back in. But they
Yeah,
would
right.
play. They would play every game. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah. All you would see was Mike and Scotty on the bench with ice on.
ice
Chilling.
packs, yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was
Sitting
low
back,
man.
chilling.
ice packs on the knees and chilling,
Yeah.
chilling like a villain.
Mhm.
What's up, T'Challa? And so yeah, but they changed Salaam. I'm sick of them changing the narrative, man.
They always move the goalpost.
I'm sick of this, man.
Yeah.
You move the goalpost, man. It's like, first is okay. Well, you guys didn't beat. Okay, well then, well, Magic them didn't do it either. Well, at the time, Magic them was great, but see, by the time y'all played them, they were trash.
See, my thing is, it's like algebra. What you do to one side, you gotta do to the other. So they say, well, Hassan is notorious for being, that's my man, but he was notorious for being. So he said, well, the Bulls didn't beat any champions. I said, oh, they didn't beat champions. Okay, so if that's the case, take away Magic's first 2 rings, because in 80 and 82, the Sixers were choke artists. You remember they blew a 2-0 series lead to Bill Walton in the 70s. I mean, so they always kept missing, coming up short with expectations. They blew a 3-1 series lead to Boston and lost that in 7. So by that argument, the first 2 rings the Lakers got against Philly should be minimized just as well.
So
and then go ahead.
So the Pistons weren't champions?
Well, no, right there. This is what defending champions. They eventually would concede that because they were defending champions. But what happens also, you got to negate Boston's 80, 81, and 86 rings. Those Houston teams didn't win anything,
Oh.
Then when the Lakers got swept at 83 to the Sixers, that very next year, the Sixers get upset by the Nets in the first round.
Right.
And
But what did the Lakers do to the Sixers before the Sixers finally won?
Exactly. You see, that's the narrative change. But you know what the record of that Nets team was? 45-37. Shit, that's what's a 45-37 team? Like the 95 Charlotte Hornets? But then, and I'm sorry, if you're a defending champion and your core group is coming back and you lose in the first round and your conquest to defend, you're not a legit champion. You can't be. You can't be. You can't have the same group come back and then get exited against a team that only had 1 All-Star in Buck Williams and no Hall of Famers nowhere.
Yeah.
You can't. They can't.
You talking about Philly? I wasn't listening.
Yeah,
you talking about Philly, yeah.
Oh.
Philly 83, 84.
4-4-4.
Mm-hmm.
And then they
And
lost
then the
first
killer
round.
part is they lost every home game. That was the most
I used to
ugliest
love
thing.
Mo Cheeks. Just want
Yeah,
to throw
Mo
that
Cheeks.
out.
That's even the crib.
Yeah. Mochika was the
I
ball.
patterned a lot of. I told you my family watched basketball, so my
Right.
grandmother always used to tell me Mo Cheeks used to sit in my kitchen and eat cookies because they grew up in Robert Taylor, my mother and them. And she said Mo
They went to
Cheeks.
do
I don't know if he
Starbucks.
lived next door or down the hall, whatever. And so they were friends with Mo Cheeks, and so I always studied to do like, man, I wore number 10, like I wanted to be just like that,
Uh-huh.
What you working on? What you working on now, T'Challa? Thanks for joining us tonight.
T'Challa in here?
Yeah, he's
So,
on.
Shala, what's up, man?
Yeah. See what he's working on. He's always working on some project.
Oh, okay. Is he
Oh,
coming
yeah.
on? Is he live?
No. He's not.
Oh, okay.
He could join the future panel. Hey,
Okay, yeah, I love to see him because I grew up right across the street from T'Challa's cousins, so that's how I met him from many years
Where'd
ago.
you grow up, Salaam?
I grew up on 61st and right between Racine and May.
Okay.
So
All right.
outside my front door, you can look across the street, and the 44 Wallace Racine bus was right there.
Mm.
I could take that to get Comiskey or the Zaire back in the day on 47th.
There. Oh wow.
Racine, why does Racine sound familiar?
It's a pretty big street.
You were up there with your son, Jay, and I hated I couldn't get back home.
The Untouchables.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, they were on there. Yeah, that was
Racine. Yeah,
that's what Sean Connery
Sean
was.
Connery's crib was on
Yeah.
Racine. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that part. I just saw that again like a couple weeks ago.
Great movie, man. You know, I love the old gangster movies and stuff. So,
Hey, Dave, you from the low end?
Huh?
You from the low end? Are you from the low end?
Me? No, my family was, but they moved out
Okay.
to like Morgan Park before I was born. Like my mother was like a teenager when they moved out there. My grandmother got a little house down the street from Morgan Park. So
Okay.
I grew up basically there. Then we moved to like Chatham, but I still went to Morgan Park, and all my friends in Morgan. So I basically still grew up in Morgan Park.
Yeah,
There's
my
people
aunt
in Morgan
lives
Park
in-
who think I grew up there, even though I moved a long time ago.
Yeah, my aunt lives in Chatham. She's off of 81st and Langley.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
My
Oh,
grandmother.
you was
like
using somebody
77th
else's
grade.
address to go to school with me, huh? No.
well, I
So
know,
we gonna talk about the new management.
yeah, I
before
was
it
gonna
gets
say,
too
I
late.
know
We
Go
gotta
ahead,
talk
man.
about them.
I know you're chopping at the bit. Go ahead.
you know, we probably wore it out for the night, but we'll our next discussion, whenever that is, we can get back into more Last Dance because we got more episodes coming.
We got more.
Yes,
Exactly.
sir.
Yeah, so we can pivot on to the new
The crazy before you do that, the crazy thing about the Last Dance is they said they actually are not edited all of them yet. They're doing it as they go. I heard the director saying that because they moved it up, he wasn't
You
completely
didn't have a chance
finished.
to edit it.
So they're still editing future episodes like
Okay.
now, which is crazy. But yeah,
I'm just glad they let him cuss.
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, you're getting the real deal, ain't
Mike Snap.
But
Yeah.
even if they beat it, you still know what they're saying.
You know it. Yeah.
I
like
need to
like
hear it
is.
all.
I did raw, yeah, like Ron Harper.
Mhm.
right.
Mike.
Ron Harper, like, oh, you know what's funny? Before we
Oh,
go,
fuck this dude.
Ron Harper said, I don't know why the coach put Craig Elo
Elo on it.
Jordan.
Oh,
Well,
Elo said something about
Elo
that.
hit back today.
I saw that. Yeah.
Elo, right?
Yeah.
Elo said, I don't know where all this come from because he sure wasn't chomping at the bit to defend nobody.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah. Elo actually played good D, but you know,
He did the best he could. But I mean, what you
it
gonna
was
do?
good D.
Yeah, what you gonna
But
do?
Mike just made a great
Right.
shot. Yeah.
I mean, who
Yep.
who one-on-one gonna stop Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
No, man.
And that's what Dolomar and some other guys. Yeah, if what's his name was checking to guard him, then you know Michael wouldn't have scored. I'm like, how do you come to that conclusion?
Well, Mike gave Harper a 50 piece already.
Yeah, all they need to do is ask Gerald Wilkins, just because he had one good
The Mike
Oh,
stopper.
game against Mike.
Jordan
Mike
stopper.
ate him up every time he played. You know, he ate him up.
That's because Gerald run his mouth, and Barkley said that whenever people run their mouth, they get Mike fired up, and that's just an extra motivation for him.
Worse.
Yeah, you don't need that kind of attention with him. You know, when he get fired up, he gonna come out because he already got the athleticism. We already said he got the athleticism, he's got the skill, he's got the talent, he's got the drive, and now you're gonna piss him off.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
On top of that.
But
You
so
know,
with that said,
ahead.
fellas, our new GM is how you pronounce this? Arturus Cornisovas.
I don't know. Yeah, you got me.
What are we
AK.
gonna,
I ain't gonna
what are we gonna call him? We got to get short in because ain't nobody
Let's call him
gonna-
AK.
right.
I just hope we start winning so we don't ever have to talk about it.
Well,
'Cause
Right.
if we
We
start
got,
winning,
we got a
we'll
black
talk about it.
GM too, right?
Huh? Yeah,
Yeah,
he
bro.
brought,
Nigga's a black GM.
The
Yeah.
dude from Philly.
yeah.
Mm.
So let me pull that up too. I'm on because
I don't have a lot of comment because I have not been following the news that well. So I don't know that much about, especially the GM. I don't really know anything about.
Mark Eversley.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the brother that they picked up. Yeah, I don't know
But
too
I
much.
do know AK fleeced us to get the them 2 picks with Doug McDermott. Oh, he was part of that.
He didn't do too
Yeah.
bad, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And first thing he did was had to sit down with Gar Foreman and said, you know what?
Nah, you out of here.
I don't think your ideology and my ideology was on the same
I
page.
loved it. No, you out.
Hit the road.
And
Jack.
Boylan is definitely out. I know he ain't.
Oh
Kidding.
yeah.
They
Yeah, I
just ain't
think-
said nothing yet.
I think they're just waiting for the season to officially be
season.
over.
Yeah, I think so.
And ain't nothing else for him to complete. And once that's done, because even if they would try to like say, okay, we're gonna play another 10 games and we're gonna close the regular season out, that'd be an excuse to fire him. So
Right.
You know what I wish they would do? And I put this in the group earlier today, and it got looked over. I ain't complaining, but since the season's over, everything is different anyway. Let's try
I
something
saw
different.
this,
Why don't
Will.
they just do why don't they do something similar to like an NCAA tournament just to close out the year and crown the champion?
have a field of what, 24?
Yeah,
No, he's meant everybody.
whatever
right?
they decide to do, and because different state, not every state is open and stuff like that. Just have a couple stadiums that, all right, we're gonna run 3 games today. We're gonna run 3 games over here, 3 games over here. We'll do a 1-on-1 or a 3, a best of 3 series or something like that.
Game series.
Just to get it over quick in a short amount of time and just give it some type of, let's just go out with a bang.
Closure.
A finality.
We're gonna do something different and just be forward thinking. I
Somebody
think
brought
that would
that
be
up.
a good.
Will.
That was me.
Somebody brought that up. No, I saw your post today when I was working, but I saw it as I scrolled. But I saw on the this is an idea they already were talking about. Actually made a tournament or something. Bringing that up.
And then you can limit it to just a few locations.
Yeah. I do like it in theory, but my concern is not so much for right now. It's good in theory and in practice even. But what's going to happen is 10 years from now, when they start these types of discussions that we just had with the last subject, that whoever wins this year is going to get the asterisk.
Like they did, San Antonio.
Well,
like they did San Antonio, like they did Miami to a lesser degree, but that was they didn't start till Christmas.
Yeah.
But the San Antonio year, they didn't start till like February 1st, I think it was. So
with the lockouts and stuff. Well, don't
They're
even
gonna
bill
give
it
it an
as an
asterisk
NBA
anyway,
championship. Just brand it as something different, just for
It's
this
something
year.
different.
Yeah.
But it can't be no champion this year. With the way things are going, I don't see them crowning a champion this year at all.
Who do y'all think would have been the champion if it did go through? If we had a real season, who do y'all think would have been the champion this year if they had a regular season? If nothing happened and we had a regular season.
I don't know who would have won, but I think it would have been Lakers and Milwaukee in the finals. I think it would have been Toronto. I don't know. They start out pretty good, and I think they were in a little bit of a slump a little bit, but I think that they could have recovered and made a series with Milwaukee interesting because Toronto actually surprised me. Because look at how quick they rebounded all these young, long, athletic defenders, on the wing in every position. I mean, they're a terror defensively. And then Van Fleet made a name for himself last year, dropping buckets on Steph and everything. So Toronto would have made some noise for sure.
They would have.
Denver, I think, took us. I don't know. Denver's this year I wasn't sold on because last year was a flame out.
Yeah.
But this year I don't know with the Clippers ascending to where they were. I think Denver would have dropped down a little bit. Portland was a big disappointment though. It was
Yeah,
I agree. I thought the Lakers
call
and
it
Bucks.
win,
yeah. So Adrian Carter said that AK fleets other teams too, not just the Bulls.
Okay, that's true.
And T'Challa says that the new GM, from all he's heard, has experience at picking players. He might
Philly guy.
Yeah, he might be used.
What's his name?
Didn't he draft Embiid or something?
Mark Eversley. Huh?
Eversley. Okay.
You said did he draft Embiid?
Did he draft Embiid?
I had to look that up.
And Ben, I wonder who drafted them.
What year
Those
did he come
guys.
in? What year did he come in?
Ben Simmons, I think, is let's see.
No,
he was-
Embiid is Sam Hinkie was still there.
Okay.
is that he okay? So he didn't pick him. But what about
But
Ben?
Ben Simmons, Sam Hinkie was gone. So whoever was after that, I think it was
Okay.
Colangelo and them at that
Yeah,
point.
you know what? You're right, because that was before Colangelo got
Yeah.
in that
Yeah,
that
little
drama that happened. Yeah. So there was a mess up there for a while.
I think they only been there for 2 or 3 years. Elton Brand.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Elton.
Well,
just came
Elton
in.
Brand
Yeah.
brings some stability there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elton.
I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most is that I know the Denver people take player development real seriously. Like that's a
Mhm.
big thing in Denver because they know they can't get free agents. They're not getting big high draft picks usually, so they develop their players. Like if you
Right.
look at their team, they just mostly develop from internally. So and Philly too, they develop players. So that's what I'm looking forward to because man, we
Yeah.
just don't have that. It's like Paxton and them draft pretty well, and then they just leave everything as like, hey, let's bring in this goofy coach or whoever.
Right.
Like we got lucky before they drafted Rose and them, and then we ended up getting this, but they brought in Vinny and all this. It's like that's not.
Yeah.
You should be getting the best coach for these guys.
Right.
You know, you get
Yeah,
a guy like
Yeah,
Rose. you bring in
there's
a
people out there that they
first-time
won't
coach.
give an opportunity to.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
You know, I don't see why Mark Jackson is not coaching a team right now. I mean, I do know he has a lot of philosophical differences with certain people.
You know, yeah. So,
You
Well,
Yeah.
Gary and I was talking about that before we started the broadcast.
Who Mark?
uh-huh.
Vinny.
And that's the same reason why Tim Hardaway hasn't gotten the Hall of Fame call yet either.
No, we
Man,
were
that's a
talking-
travesty right there.
That is a travesty.
Oh,
That's
that
the
is
same
a
exact
travesty.
thing they're holding over
That
his head.
dude was one of the best guards of his era, 100%.
Yeah, we know
His
that's
first-
why.
His
Yeah.
first 3 years in the league, his number wise matched with Magic's first 3 years in the league. How
Mr.
scary is that?
Mr. I got skills.
Mm-hmm. Them air raids was nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
man,
some
you know
guys
what?
like I like Joe Dumars. I was a fan of his actually. And there's no way that I would put Joe Dumars in the Hall of Fame over Tim Hardaway. Just as a player to player. I don't think he's a better player than Tim Hardaway. And
Mhm.
he's in the Hall of Fame. I know he's a champion, finals MVP, all-star, but he was not better than Tim Hardaway.
He
Not
went
to
better
me.
than Tim.
Mm-mm.
No, well, I guess that's when.
And KJ got a little something on his record too, why he's not in there either.
Oh, KJ too.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah, Kevin Johnson. Yeah, Kevin Johnson. Yeah.
Read that
I
story
had to
about
read that one up. I had to
yeah.
look that one up too.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my
They-
favorites too.
But they
KJ
hit-
Price, Dumars, love them dudes.
Mhm.
That community hits hard, man. We
No, but KJ is not that. But KJ is
It
on
ain't that
some,
one?
some
Okay.
Me Too stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
gotcha.
But you know what?
Yeah.
I feel like that's any outside stuff don't have nothing to do with the Hall of Fame.
It
The Hall
don't
of
have
Fame
it
should
just
just
shouldn't have
be,
nothing to do with the game.
it should just be based on what you did on the court. That's
Mhm.
why I don't feel like if baseball, Pete Rose, if he's not a Hall of Famer, why do you have a Hall of Fame?
Why you have
Oh,
it, right?
Right. I
Like,
mean, you
come
can
on.
say Pete, you can't never play, you can't never coach, you can't never play. That's all fine. That ain't got
Right.
nothing to do with his.
That's fine, but he's
ain't
a
got
Hall
to
of
do with the
Famer.
Hall. No, nothing.
Barry Bonds, like, come on.
Yeah.
man.
Right.
Barry, Clemens, all of them need to get in there.
Yeah.
Clemens
totally
still
agree.
not in there? Okay, yeah, definitely.
No. They
Yeah,
black-
one
they're
year
all
they went.
blackballed.
Baseball went so far to 1 year. I don't even think they had any inductees. Remember that?
What? No, I don't
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a few years back.
Damn.
Yeah, but all
Yeah,
that
1 year
with the
because
steroids.
Barry and all them were up. They said the writers like, nope, we ain't inducting nobody. I'm
Mm.
like, damn.
So I agree with you guys. Is what did you do on the court, and that's what, as far as the Hall is concerned, that's what should matter. Nothing, all that other political stuff.
I mean, because if that's the case, Magic should have never got in. If we're going to be frank about it.
Mhm. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
If
that
you wanna
Barbara
do
Walters
that.
interview was pretty telling.
Mm.
This-
What do y'all think
Six
about
at a
the
time?
coach? Like, who do y'all want to see as the coach? Somebody brought up Mark Jackson, but anybody else y'all like?
Wow, that's out there.
I don't know. Anybody in our audience got any ideas for coaching? Because I haven't really thought of anybody that's available.
Uh, And that's the same reason why Tim
Somebody got
Hardaway.
feedback.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was my phone. My bad.
No,
It's like, who is that?
Yeah, I haven't really thought of any good
what about
coaches that's available.
Adrian Griffin? I like him.
Now his name
Adrian
did come up.
Griffin, okay.
His name
Yeah.
did come up. Yeah.
The
Adrian
only
Griffin
problem I
had-
have with Adrian Griffin is, and this is like not really a real reason, but it's that I don't want nobody who got ties to the Bulls front office at all. Like the previous, I want somebody completely cut off from the Bulls front office.
Somebody
but he-
fresh.
And I
but he
know
was
he's
handpicked. A little-
he's qualified. He's doing with Toronto and all of that, and he probably would do a good job though.
because
But I just
think-
don't want nobody that was dealing with Paxson and them ever.
Who would
I'm
you-
just looking at the relationship that he could potentially have with Kobe White that he potentially
Mhm.
that he built with Rose. You know, so when he was there, I mean, he had a
Yeah.
solid. He was solid with Joe and Luau and those guys, but I
Very
thought he could
solid.
have
Luau
a
gave him a
similar.
lot of credit.
Yeah, I thought he could
Yeah.
have a similar effect here.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where the Bulls pick this year. You know, to see like what's are they going to draft a need or what have you, or are they just going to like I don't know. I think they probably should go big if they can. You know, but a skill big. You know, because the game has changed. It's some cat. This Israeli cat. It's like 6'9".
Oh, I saw
forgot
that
his
cat.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw. I
Danny.
only saw his name for the first time last week when they said he was declaring. It'd be interesting to see what film looked like on him. He's still kind of rail thin. When I saw it, he was on like 215, but he was 6'9".
No,
You know,
no,
but
yeah. No,
yeah, I'm like,
no, Adrian, we need to move on from Tibbs too. So
well,
He said
Adrian was
Tibbs.
under Tibbs. So, yeah,
Where are
that
you
makes
seeing
sense.
those comments at? I
you
didn't
got to
see
look at
that
the
comment.
live feed on the live page.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you must. Yeah, I'm looking at my phone, so I can't see it there.
Yeah.
So
I got my tablet on the side here, so I can see
Okay.
the live page. Yeah, but no, I'm with you, David. I think we need a fresh start, and Gary and I was talking about this before we started broadcasting that we, you know, the Garpax did some good as far as drafting. They picked some good players. They had some
They
knucklehead.
did all right.
They had some knucklehead picks too, but just to try and prove everybody they were smarter than everybody.
yeah,
But they had some good players, and I don't. Some people poo-poo on the Jimmy Butler trade, but I don't. I mean, I think Zach LaVine is a budding star, and you put in the right situation, he's going to flourish. You got
he's a better scorer than Jimmy naturally.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and Jimmy can
naturally,
still get his buckets, but a natural scoring ability, Zach has that in spades.
right.
You know,
And then,
Zach just has
now
to
you're adding
mature
Kobe.
a little bit as a leader. That's all.
Yeah, and now you're adding Kobe White to that mix.
Mhm.
And you got
So I missed a lot of games. Like I stopped. So I've been kind of AWOL in the group because around the All-Star break, I stopped watching games. But I was really just busy. I wasn't just like not watching the Bulls.
Okay.
But so I started a training business. I've been doing training on the side, basketball training, and
Okay.
so I was in the gym like all the time. I think I only told Christy this. So so I was like busy. I wasn't really watching the games that much, but I did see highlights. Kobe White was going crazy, and I guess Wendell and them came back. So you guys who were watching these games, did y'all see any improvement in the team? Like something that we could take going forward?
I saw some improvement in some of the players individually. As a team,
Yeah.
no, because Borland is an idiot. But as far as some, you know, Zach took his game. To me, he took his game to the next level because he started playing tougher defense, and he started just like it was at one point because he struggled in the beginning of the season, and I think Paxson, I mean, not Paxson, Borland was all in those guys' head,
Yeah.
and after a while,
He said, forget it.
Zach said, "Forget you, man. I'm playing
Yeah.
my game. I'm going to shoot I'm gonna shoot my mid range. I'm gonna do whatever it is I do that scores, you know." And
Yeah, they were complaining because they were being forced,
Not to
Laurie
shoot
and all of them,
mid-range.
to shoot threes.
Yeah.
You're not shooting enough threes. You're not shooting enough threes.
I mean, Chris Dunn, that's what, you know, his game is mid range. He can't shoot.
Even Kobe, his game, he is a good mid-range shooter.
Yeah.
When he comes off the pick, and he can hit that mid-range all day. Kobe.
Chris Dunn is a guy, even though he's not, from where he was projected to be as a number 3 pick, because he led the nation in scoring when he was in college. And he was picked to be this score along a gluttony of join the trend of scoring point guards, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I got to give the kid credit. He reinvented himself as a 3-and-D, point guard. You know what I mean? So, like, I mean, that defense he played on Paul George was impressive.
I give him a lot of
Impressive.
credit because he embraced coming off the bench and just
Mhm.
being that defensive guy off the bench. He really embraced his role, and he did well this year.
I'd like to
I don't
see
think they're
him.
gonna bring him back though.
What'd you say now?
I don't think they're gonna bring him back though.
Yeah, I don't think they will either. Like I'd like to see him just remember who you were, before you reinvent yourself and show flashes of that so defenses can be honest, when they play.
Before he busted his mouth on that dunk, he was really hooping.
Yeah,
was it 2 years ago? He busted his mouth. Then after that, he wasn't the same player.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say, Dave, though, once they get another coach in there, we'll know what we're working with, because it's kind of hard to evaluate the talent when, like, Kobe White, for example, he'll hit 3 in a row, and then that's when you decide to take him out the game. Or
like, really?
For a guy who sit on the bench as cold as ice.
For Archie Diacono.
His rotations, it was just like you just didn't understand what was going on.
No. Right.
And it's like, I mean, I coach Park District, all right?
Yeah.
Small AAU. I know better than what some of the things that this man is doing. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say I'm the smartest person in basketball, but I know I have some common sense.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to watch the Bulls and grasp the type of logic. And you can tell, the one thing I know you can identify with is when we were in high school, you can't tell me that our team wasn't a better team than our record, right?
Exactly, 100%.
That's the way That's the way I
Yeah.
feel the Bulls are. They have a lot more
Yeah.
potential. They're just not being used properly.
Exactly. It I hate to go off on the tangent, guys, besides Will, but he brought it up and now I'm sparked. So our team was small, guys. Our center was like 6'2", 6'3". I don't know if any of them guys watching, but I think 6'2", 6'3", John McGee was about the tallest guy on our team, right? We should have been a trapping, pressing, running team, but we were playing.
What school was this?
Slow. This is Morgan Park. Slow down. Trying to go inside. Like, we should be running. And if you would have saw us play outside of like organized basketball, we'd be out there running it, man.
Yeah.
Like summer league or something. But yeah.
So the coach,
we had some racehorses.
So basically, the coach is trying to make y'all. The coach is trying to make y'all somebody you're not. Instead of
he was trying to play a style that didn't fit the person.
Instead of capitalizing,
and that's what the Bulls are doing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what Boylan is doing. That's what
Boylan is doing.
Yeah. Instead of
threes and all that.
Yeah. Instead of letting these dudes use the skills that they have and building on that.
Yeah. Why is a team that has a 6'2" center trying to run a half court offense when you're going up against guys like Juwan Howard?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
We ain't gonna get nothing done.
We should have been playing like the way Westinghouse played. They play with all them guards. They trapping and pressing, and that's how Westinghouse is, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we should have been.
And I'm thoroughly convinced that Laurie is a star and Boylan screwed him up this year.
Well, you know what? That's one of the things I am excited about is this guy, AK, coming in. I think they'll use Wendell and marketing better. It'll be the coach, but I think he knows coming from Denver. If you look at how they play, Jokic, I can see Wendell playing that way because he got way more skills than the Bulls. The Bulls use Wendell like he's Clint Capella or somebody.
Right.
That's how they use Wendell. But he got way more skill than that. They could use him in
got a nice
at the free throw at the elbow, and they should be playing off of him. They should be running through him like UCLA type cuts and Wendell facilitate because he's a good passer, smart. But they just have him either standing outside or setting the pick and roll. Like they're not using him right.
And
then marketing is just standing in the corner as well.
Right.
So it's just like
you got a 7-footer with an athletic 7-footer, and all you do is tell them go run the corner, stand there and wait for somebody to throw you the ball for a 3-point.
I think that for those two, it's gonna help. And whoever we get in the draft, we mentioned the draft. I just want to mention this because I'm all into the draft. I don't know where the Bulls are going to pick, so that's a big thing. But there are so many guards in this draft. Yeah. This guard is really, really point guard heavy.
LaMelo, Cole,
mostly point guards.
Yeah, Anthony
The
Edwards.
Bulls are
Anthony
more
Edwards might
than
be-
likely going to be looking at a point guard. And if we could
Yeah.
get like a LaMelo or somebody, that's going to change them completely. Wendell and
LaMelo
them.
is so dynamic, man. I mean, he got a growth spurt. He was 6'8" now. You know,
Yeah,
so
and
he's long. I mean, like if you have the right coaching foundation for him and utilize his tools, well, he's gonna be a problem.
yeah.
He's gonna be.
Yep.
An
So
That's
the
why I'm
Bulls
excited. I was gonna say I
the
feel
Bulls
good
need to
about like,
find a
guys
coach
like that now.
that's
Go ahead.
creative. Yeah, my fault. The Bulls need to find a coach that has a reputation of being creative behind the personnel that they have versus
Mhm.
being one of those coaches that is in love with doing things their way, running their play.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a time to have a coach in there that wants to run, or I run this type of offense. No, you
Right.
look at what you got. You say,
What
you know what?
got?
I'm gonna
This
put
is what
these
we're gonna
people
do.
in places where they can succeed.
But,
Mhm.
Like Pop.
but
Look how
fellas, I
many
got a
times
plan.
Pop changed.
But fellas, I got a plan.
Oh man, if you don't get this dude out of my screen.
Oh my God.
But you know what, Will? That's why I'm like, but in the past, when we talk about draft, I used to be worried about us taking guys like a LaMelo, somebody who got potential, but you need to
Right.
develop them and all. I used to be worried about that because the Bulls they never developed that. We always need somebody
No.
who's ready to play right now.
Right away.
But now I feel like we just need to take whoever the best talent is, and they're going to develop them. I think they'll do a better job developing
group, yeah.
those type of guys.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another person, Carter has that mid-range game. I mean,
Wendell,
Uh,
yeah,
and
exactly.
so and you know who else I like? I like Gafford, man.
I like
I
Gafford.
Oh,
do.
Gafford's nice. So
Oh,
if they don't pick a big man, then that should be a light bulb in his head that says, "Oh, they really betting on me, and I'm gonna come with it." You know, so I
this
like
guy-
Gafford.
this one guy that I watch his channel sometimes, his YouTube channel. He floated the idea that Rudy Gobert might be in
I heard about that
yeah,
because
he might be out, not in good
On the
standing
house.
with the locker room. Put it that way,
because of
because
what happened with the COVID thing with
And
him and
so-
Donovan Mitchell on the outs.
So the Bulls might be able to trade Carter for him straight up.
I wouldn't want to do that. Though.
Wow,
know
I think Utah gonna ask for more than Carter,
Yeah.
and it depends on what we're gonna be parting with, where we pick, and things like that.
Well,
Utah, not gonna
money
give
wise,
up.
you'd have to do more than that. But
Well, yeah, but
I
you know what I'm
wouldn't.
saying.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to do that, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you why. I
Go
wouldn't want to do it because this is the problem with the way they play now. Rudy Gobert gets played off the floor all the time
Right.
because he can't guard them guys out there on the perimeter, and
Mm.
at least Wendell can do that.
Okay.
And he doesn't
Right.
give you that much on offense at all. Defensively, he's amazing, and he can get putbacks and rolls and all that. That's great.
But that's
Gafford
not
give
it.
us that,
Right.
but I wouldn't trade Wendell for
Gafford and
him.
Wendell are more mobile, and
Yeah,
Wendell, I
more
like
mobile,
his
yeah.
defense on the pick and roll. He knows how to show.
You can't play him off
recovery.
the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't get to see it a lot, but Gafford actually got a nice little mid-range himself and a low post game.
Does he?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think we're okay at center.
If you go look at
I
his
think we're
college,
okay.
if you go back and look at his college film, you'll see that because Borland, for whatever dumb reason, didn't use him a lot in the post.
I want to see how Hutchinson develops too. I think this is what his
Yeah.
third year coming up. So whatever he's got going, he needs to like turn the corner.
I've
And,
seen,
I wish
I've
he
seen
could
a
stay
lot of
healthy,
promise on him,
man.
but he has to stay healthy. That's his big
Yeah,
thing.
that's the
Stay
thing.
healthy, man. He loses out on so much development time just because he can't stay healthy.
He can't stay on
Like
the
he
floor.
could have been
Yeah,
a starter the last 2 years, but
Yeah.
he can't.
absolutely.
But his athleticism and getting the pushing the ball, he can do that.
Yeah, I like what he can do.
Yeah.
He just got to like what they say, the greatest availability. The greatest ability is
Help.
availability.
Availability. Yeah.
Yeah. So
You know what? I wish some of these guys. I hope the new regime really help develop these guys because
Yeah.
guys like that Hutchison, right? You can see that. You can all see that he got something,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is up here with him. Like he
In
doesn't
his head.
believe, and Wendell too. Like Wendell, if you could talk to Wendell and say, "Dude, you should be able to dominate." Honestly, you need to have a mentality to go out there and dominate, not be passive and don't look to shoot and all that. Forget about what Boylan talking about. Like
Right.
look at the basket and looking at the hoop. But like Hutchison too, if he got more of a mentality to score and all that.
Yes, he does.
If he got a jumper, he can play. He
Uh-huh.
can be a starter
And he can
Oh
develop
yeah.
that. Yeah. And you know,
Yeah.
Adrian said dump Cornette and Sato and Young. Um, if we Cornette was taking all the minutes, and Gafford sat on the bench for almost a month, didn't he? What is a month or more?
Well, I
Gafford was on
remember
the
that.
bench for a long time.
And
I
and
don't remember how long.
this dude was running Cornette out there every night, and he was getting. I mean, we were killing him, and I'm like, what is wrong with this guy? He cannot see that this ain't working. The Bulls are getting murdered
Yeah.
with Cornette. I mean, and in fairness to Cornette, he was successful where he came from, but my
They
thing,
weren't using him right either.
right? But my thing is, you can't take a player and make him do what he's not capable of doing.
Yeah,
Right.
trapping people and up top, like he
Yeah,
can't do that.
yeah, you know.
Yes, yes, hubris at its finest.
Yeah,
So one of the reasons I did mention the point guards in the draft because I don't see Kobe White as a point guard. That doesn't mean he can't develop that, but he's a natural scorer.
He's a scorer.
Like that's what he is, and I would rather just let him be what he is. If he develop a little bit more of that, that's cool. But let him score. That's what he does.
but
You
there's
know,
nothing
and
wrong
if
with
you
having two. There's nothing wrong with having two schools.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's why I would hope we get one of these guys who really can facilitate. Because that's what's missing. That guy on the floor to facilitate everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
I mean, the thing with LaMelo's facilitation skills, he can make you pay from the outside too if you go under the screen. And he has passing ability, good court vision. Yeah, whatnot. He
Yeah.
can steal.
what do we need to what do we need to do to lock up on him, Salam?
We're gonna have
He's
to get
going
number
top
one because
3 or
ain't nobody
4.
gonna give them to us.
Yeah, he's going in the top 3, 4.
He's gonna be gone. I mean, other than that, unless you pick up like a James Wiseman or something like that, and you move him if you got that much confidence in Gafford or something. But James Wiseman might be gone in the top 10 himself. So
So if the Bulls,
Yeah, he is.
if the season ended today, the Bulls would probably be. I mean,
They'd be
because I know
7 now.
they doing
they're
it.
gonna be in a lot. It probably be 11 seeds, something like that.
Well, they doing it different now. I don't know if you guys paid attention last year.
Yeah, they are. But I mean, if it ended today without the ping pong balls, they would be 7. Like
Okay.
that's where they are. But the ping pong
Okay.
balls, who knows where they're going to be? They could be 10th by the time that's
Right.
over.
Well,
They could be 4th.
they could be second or first or second. Who knows?
Yeah.
I would hope, because then they can have a chance. They have a shot at getting LaMelo.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not just the Mellow, it's some other guys I really like.
Anthony Edwards is a dog
Point
too.
guards. Yeah, he's tough. Yeah.
He's a dog.
But there's a kid out of France that's tough. His name is Killian Hayes. He's a nice young point guard. Remind me of D'Angelo Russell a little bit.
he a lefty?
He a lefty, yeah. You probably seen some highlights.
I need to see his name. I need to see his name. I'm not up on him. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll check
he's
him
all
out.
right, yeah. But I'm telling you, it's a good 7, 8 young point guards coming out. Cole Anthony, Greg Anthony's son, he can play.
Yeah.
Like this, but he's more of a scorer. I don't know, how him and Kobe or him and Zach. That's just 2 guys trying to score. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
he can shoot the rock though, but Cole and Kobe are kind of the same, except Cole is just a couple inches shorter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Adrian said the league might have mercy on us now that we done finally got rid of Garpax.
Give us number 1. That'd be awesome, man. I wonder who they would take if they got number 1. I wonder.
Yeah, the league could do us like they did Cleveland, give us 3 number 1 picks
straight.
3 years in a row.
Yeah.
well, think about it. How did the Lakers get a top pick?
The Lake.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, they sure did.
Come on now.
Adrian, you're supposed to be studying, ain't you? Yeah.
I mean,
Ugh.
how the Lakers get a top pick, man? I mean, it's just like, oh man, come on, y'all. But
I also miss Zion because I wasn't watching the games. I didn't see that much.
He was injured actually, so you didn't really miss.
I know,
him.
but I mean, when he started playing, I
When
didn't.
he came back, he was hooping though.
I saw
He
some
was hooping.
highlights. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, he was hooping.
He's hooping.
In my opinion, and I tell people this, it'll be better for him to lose about 15, 20 pounds
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
in the long run. So
In the long
I think he will.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
they gonna force him to.
I
I
hope
think he's put to rest a lot of them doubts that people had. I didn't
Yeah.
have doubts.
But he
I
I
haven't had
didn't
doubts
either.
because you know what? It's funny. We talked about Mike, and I'm not saying he's like Mike, but you can tell the characteristics. He's one of the best athletes, one of the
Mhm.
hardest workers. He's very competitive. He's got a high IQ. Like he got all of those things. The only
Right.
thing he's missing is some of the skills, and he can work on that. That's why I was like,
Uh-huh.
this guy's
I,
not
I,
going to be a
I,
bust. I
I
don't
don't
care
think
what y'all think,
I don't think
Yeah,
there are any low IQ dookies, are there?
huh?
I don't think there are any low IQ dookies, are there?
Oh yeah, that's true.
that's
Yeah,
true.
but yeah, that's why I knew Zion's gonna, at the very least, he's gonna be a double type player.
Yeah.
But he gonna be more. He already came in getting 20 something. So yeah,
His field goal percentage gonna be high.
mm, playing with Alonzo is gonna be nice for him too. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lonzo, that's a better fit for him, New Orleans. I picked them at the beginning
mhm.
of the season. You can find whatever poster they got. I said if they remain healthy, New Orleans is going to get a playoff spot this year.
I thought so
And
too. Yeah.
yeah, I knew it because they had too many young guys that was not in excess, but they had enough of them to where they could easily like make a lot of noise. Like Ingram, I mean, I don't think New Orleans was going to do the Anthony Davis deal if Ingram wasn't involved because I knew his upside was going to be tremendous. Now, I
Yeah.
would have loved to, if I'm the Lakers, I would love to have offered Kuzma, but I could see why they offered Ingram because remember, Ingram, I think, had a staph infection or something like that in his leg.
There was
You know,
something wrong. Yeah.
he had something going on. And he had put him out and sidelined him for the year, so the Lakers cut bait right away. But I'm glad, lucky for him that, it's not an issue anymore. He could still ball. But I mean, he was an all-star. So both teams won out. And I mean, like that, imagine New Orleans at 8 and Memphis at 7. The playoffs would have been on fleek this year. You would have had Ja and Zion on must-see TV in the playoffs. I hate that, that is in jeopardy.
Right.
Yeah. John Morant would have changed our team too, by the way.
Was that?
If we would have gotten John Morant, that would have changed the Bulls. The whole situation with the Bulls.
And you would think that, frankly, we traditionally look at guards at that size who can do the things that Ja can do. And you could go down a list of guys with similar talents, but their usage rate is high and they shoot the ball a lot. I've seen Ja consistently control the game with only taking like 9 shot attempts and he'll have a triple-double. It's like, that's like, he's like a Allen Iverson size, but a Jason Kidd mind kind of thing.
Yeah, he's controlling the game. Yeah.
Controls the game. It's big.
And he a dog on top of that.
He a dog. He'll cram on your head coming down the lane. I mean, like, I wanted to see. I gotta go to YouTube. Hopefully, NBA TV will show it. I need to see the games of Ja Morant and Trae Young going head up. I need to see that. That's oh my God.
Adrian said Boylan would have had Ja coming off the bench.
Well, I kind of thought that to myself, but I did call it out. Yeah,
I can see him now. Well, eventually he'll work his way into the starting lineup.
Yeah. So what are we gonna cover next week? What are we gonna cover next week?
Well, some more episodes coming Sunday, so
we're gonna have a lot of more meat and potatoes with the Last Dance coming up, and any news coming up about the sports or who's planning to drive, whatever. So
man, Kobe's gonna be in the next one, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we definitely cover Kobe. I had a question before we close it down tonight. Cause when we were talking about Dookies, and I thought about a great one that was supposed to be a star and injury just took him down, and that's the Grant Hill. Grant Hill to me, Grant Hill was a real deal, man. And yeah, when
our first step, man. Grant Hill's first step was crazy.
When I saw him,
people played off of Grant Hill because the thing was he wasn't supposed to have a jumper or whatever, so make him shoot jumpers. They played off of him. He still got by him. Like that's
I mean,
how good his first step was.
Before Tracy
crazy.
McGrady,
Yeah,
that was Grant Hill.
Grant
Before
Hill's a walk
LeBron,
into
before
double.
Tracy McGrady, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, indeed he was. I mean,
Go look at
6'8"
him
dude,
against Mike and Scotty. He was giving them the business.
a 6'8" dude that can get down, get center of gravity low enough to bring a crossover right below his kneecap and then explode up.
And then go over your head. Boom.
Yeah, just ask Alonzo.
Grant was so big, he used to play on some of our favorite TV series like Living Single and
Well, yeah, he
he had
and
a love interest
Khadijah
with
got their
Khadijah.
little.
Yeah,
I
love it.
don't remember that.
I don't think he was married to me.
No, no, he wasn't married then because Living Single went off the air before he got married to Tamia. But if you TV1 airs TV1 and MTV2, I don't know if y'all got it. They air Living Single every night.
I catch it.
Yeah, so you'll catch the episode.
Yeah, I watch all that old stuff, man. But yeah, that's pretty much what I think what I had to wanted to cover. I don't know if you guys had anything else tonight you wanted to throw in there before we call it a night.
No, I'm gonna prepare better next week.
Yeah, and I want to see. We're gonna talk about the Jordan rules. They're gonna touch on the Jordan rules to the book, Jordan rules. Because Horace Grant is on the hot seat with that one.
Yeah, Sunday's episode will be interesting. We'll be able to piggyback on that, and then we can between now and then we can promote next week's live and go from there.
All right.
Good.
Hopefully Raymond will get on her next time.
Yeah. I just want to send a shout out to Christy Tony.
Yeah.
Christy Tony, sending you a shout out. Much love to you.
Yeah, that's what I just said. We need Christy too.
Yeah, for sure. Because she had to ties in with the team. So, and then T'Challa, my man, you got to come through, bro. I got to see.
And I wanted to say, Christy and I'm sure some other people are being hit hard by the COVID-19 and the shutdown. And if you guys want to find a way to help others, reach out to them, inbox them, Christy as well, and see if there's a way you can help them or check on them. And I say, check on your brothers and sisters in this group and see if they need anything or if they're hurting.
Absolutely.
Pretty much all I got there.
Even if it's a hello or something, just touch down with folks.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, let's get T'Challa in her next time.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Please reach out to Jim Boylan because he's gonna be out of work too. He may need help.
Oh yeah.
You gonna get Paxton on her too? Hey, invite. We gonna get Boylan and Gar on here.
Gar on here. Hey man, I gotta say it was nice seeing y'all in person, I guess. I don't want to say in person, but seeing y'all, actually meet y'all. I know Will already, but y'all.
Yeah, Salaam and I go back. Salaam and I go back to what, Salaam? 2001, 2002.
Yeah, around that time.
We connected on a platform from Black America Web. They used to be run by Tom Joyner.
Yeah.
Okay.
TJMS, Tom Joyner Morning Show.
Absolutely.
And, man, we used to have some hot topics and discussions, and that's where we connected, and we've been brothers ever since, man.
Yeah, remember Joseph Phillips from the Cosby Show? He had an article, and then Gregory Kane, God rest his soul. You know, so from the Baltimore Sun, he dropped some.
And Greg would have the ones with the most controversy. And remember we did the Fantasia.
The Fantasia.
Oh, we had about 1,000 comments on that one.
Everybody's going at it like little Muppets going.
Yeah, real quick. That's when Fantasia made that song about baby mamas and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Gregory Kane ate because Gregory had a little more of a conservative leaning. And, man, he lit her up, and we were all going back and forth. It was funny, man. Yeah, well, that's all I got.
All right, brothers. Yeah, it was good seeing y'all.
Good to
see y'all next week.
You
all right, let's do it again, man. Appreciate y'all.
Hey, good Ramadan, bro.
You too, bro.